Good afternoon. Welcome to the informational meeting, Tuesday, August 23rd, 2022. Now, as we always do, we start out with committee reports. Homeless Task Force, Councilman Karras.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Homeless Task Force has met 3 different times. I think up to this point you could call it primarily educational focused. We've had a lot of information flowing at our first 3 meetings from community members, nonprofit organizations, and then also city employees. We're now moving into kind of the phase of getting down to the nitty-gritty, talking about some specific ideas. So we've got an informal research group that'll be meeting kind of on the side a little bit, but then we'll also be meeting every other week with our whole task force and digging into some other ideas. So I'd expect about a month from now to have some more specifics that we're looking at.
Thank you. About Experience Sioux Falls, the bid.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We met on August 11th, and the primary or the purpose of that meeting was to discuss the budget. And it's a little bit different as Experience Sioux Falls is becoming its own entity apart from the Chamber of Commerce. And so it's a little different this year because the Chamber's fiscal year is through the end of September. And so Experience Sioux Falls had through the end of September and then a budget from October to December, and then starting again, their fiscal year will be in January. So that was the purpose, and to discuss other logistics in terms of their lease in the same building and some other things. So great things that are coming to Sioux Falls in terms of groups who are wanting to come here and bring their business. So
thank you.
Thanks.
How about the UDC? Councilor Barranco, Councilor Karras. Is anybody able to attend?
I wasn't able to attend that meeting, so I'm unable to provide a report at this time, but I'll be happy to confer with the people who were in attendance. I know Councilman Starr sat in as a chair of that meeting, so I will confer with the people who were able to attend on that date and make sure and present a report to this committee in due time.
Nothing from me as well.
Thank you. How about Councilor Starr's not quite here yet, so we might circle around to the Sioux Heritage Museum Board at that time. Now we're going to resume the Public Works budget, the question and answer period. So we're going to give you this opportunity. I know we cut you pretty short last time. Is there anything you'd like to maybe reiterate or add to that before we get to question and answer period?
Just essentially, we knew that we kind of went through that fast and furious. We covered a lot of topics. We brought a portion of our management team, our leadership team back today to see if you guys have any questions. I've received 1 email with a number of questions in them that they'd like some feedback by next Wednesday. But other than that, we know that, not only is it's an important budget in 2023, but the 6 additional position requests are critical to our operation. 4 being funded with enterprise funds, 2 being funded with general fund dollars. And essentially, we're here to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Council, is there questions? You might have caught a break. Councilor Neitzer's not here yet. Anyone else?
I'll go if nobody else is going to go.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman. Hey, thank you, Director, for being here. A couple of questions. First, maybe the easiest one, and I might just get kicked out of here for asking this question, but my farm boy roots kick in a little bit when I hear, hey, we're building a really nice bridge. And I think, how about a functional bridge that just gets us across the river? What's the price difference between a functional bridge and the Unity Bridge?
Well, the short answer is we'd have to come back and try to split that off with some of the sort of core elements and the items that would make up the amenity bridge. The amenities that will make it a Unity Bridge, but just in general, downtown, the River Greenway, it's a special place. One of the main things that we're doing to that bridge is really we're going to take and repurpose more of the bridge for pedestrian and bike movements, and really help tie in with so much development and redevelopment that's happened in the downtown that really offsets the vehicles and the pedestrians. But I think what you'll see is largely those are still a fraction of the cost to actually build the bridge. We could certainly come back with some of those breakdowns if you'd like.
Well, I know, I just appreciate hearing that it's pedestrian bike. I didn't know if we were getting into, special rock or some decorative thing, but no, anyhow. Other question, it's kind of high level question. We know that this is more for a planning zoning area, but you got a lot of respect in the community, especially in the construction industry. As we think about sprawling, as we continue to grow, from your perspective, what can we do as a council to incentivize higher density development that helps us with our infrastructure costs?
I think it's probably one of the larger questions that's in front of us. We know that we've seen cities across the country that have really sprawled. I think that Sioux Falls has done a very good job of managing growth while also trying to have all types of development. The incentives certainly can. There's a list of them, but specifically for public works, very similar if you look in the downtown where you develop the street system, the sidewalk system, the setbacks. There's 0 setbacks in downtown and really drive density. You can look at a number of those things as it relates to public works. When we develop an arterial street, the more cars, the more people that can be served by that arterial street is only good from a density standpoint. So I think there's a number of elements in a menu that can be looked at. I wouldn't have any specific tonight besides trying to pull some of the attributes of what happens in a downtown farther out. And maybe those become more of the planned work core areas and almost like large nodes. And so you can try to leverage and incentive more density as opposed to just continue to try to do more in the downtown. You can maybe replicate that to a certain degree.
One more, is that all right? One other question be, is there anything in your proposed budget that is really a part of the sustainability plan? The sustainability plan was brought forward, hasn't been approved yet, but we know it'll come back before us. Is there anything that you're budgeting for right now that is really a reflection of the sustainability plan?
Yes, and it's been, because sustainability it's a marathon. But probably specifically the one thing that we highlighted was the EV Readiness Consulting, so it can really inform us from a policy standpoint and an infrastructure standpoint. That was $100,000 for us to bring in a consultant that would be a nice complement to the DOT's fast charging plan that they just released and put out for public comment. But I mean, when you look at sustainability, it really captures all crossroads, whether it's from the landfill all the way to all of our pedestrian and bike infrastructure investments. And so there's a whole menu of items that would be reflective. Also, open space. And so a lot of what we do in the storm drainage area is trying to develop large regional detention facilities that can also be shared use. So the one that we highlighted in the budget was, I think it's the new one that'll be developed south of 57th Street between Veterans Parkway and 6 Mile Road. So 14-acre site. It'll serve about 500 acres of new development. And those can be developed for multi-purpose. And so that really gets that nature and that open space component of sustainability. So we could probably look at our entire budget, operating and capital in all the divisions of Public Works and provide a list of what are some of those key investments that you'll see in sustainability.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions, council? Well, it looks like it's up to me, and I have a few for you. I'm going to start with landfill. Last year, we approved the ability for garbage collectors to collect on the street versus buy next door to the building.
Yes.
Did you see any impact in the landfill by that action by the council? I mean, was there more garbage collected, less garbage collected, rates go up, go down?
I can get you we monitor that on a monthly basis. I can give you what we see come in the gate from our MSW, and we can follow up with those tonnages. I think we're going to naturally see is the growth that the city of Sioux Falls is seeing, not only in residential but commercial. We're going to see those MSW tonnages continue to grow. In general, I think one of the things that's probably concerning to us is the reduction in recycling tonnage over the last 3 years, and that's one of the areas that I know we had to go through our slides pretty quickly, but we did highlight that we're having individual meetings with every hauler to really try to understand what they're seeing out there and how can we stabilize, because it's been a 3-year downturn in recycling tonnage. We want to stabilize that and then get that back on the right track. And that wouldn't be specific to curbside, but it's probably the one thing that's most concerning to us right now, which will then dovetail into more inspections at the landfill to make sure that we're reducing the amount of contaminated loads, things of that nature. So, but if you're interested in what the MSW tonnages have been over the last 12 months or last 24 months, we'll follow up with that to the City Council.
Well, I appreciate that, and I noticed that 2 full-time employees are asked for the landfill, and I will say the times I've been out there, they've been very busy. They have been very busy, busier than in previous years, so I appreciate that. I'm going to move on to water rec, and ask about rate increases for the 2023. Just to refresh our memory and to put it on record, what are you asking for rate increases for water?
Water is 0, so we did a 5-year rate package for you, and water, we have not done a rate increase, I don't believe, since prior to 2019. And then I think that water rec is a 3% rate increase in 2023. So just that amount will now, with we've had inflation, we've had projects that have increased in cost. We've been fortunate to get a substantial amount of ARPA funds. And so we expect to be back in front of you in the first quarter of 2023 and talk about kind of what's the next horizon of rate package looks like. But at this point in time, 0 for water and 3% for wastewater.
Thank you, I appreciate that, and I'm sure the public appreciates you keeping the cost down. My last question has got to deal with a general overview, if you can, with the construction projects that you have going on, and give us kind of an update on what you see coming for inflationary rates, and now with the shortage of concrete, how that's going to affect all the projects that you have going on.
And I may queue up Andy if he's got additions to add to this. The concrete shortage is real, and it's affecting everyone in the concrete space, from home builders up to large roadway pavers. We understand that there's a number of factors that's causing it. We're hoping that it gets worked out by, probably, or hopeful that start of the 4th quarter. But most of the large contractors are on allocations, and ultimately the plants have to, they're having not only, it started out at the beginning of the year, they had a shortage of CDL drivers, and now we've got a shortage of cement powder. It's having a real impact on the construction and really just kind of delivering some of those, I'd say, smaller projects. From what we've heard, the larger projects, they're going to get done. They're going to be on allocations, but the sidewalk contracts that we've let, we've let, I think, 6 sidewalk contracts. Some of those, of the larger contractors, are getting a reasonable allocation to keep things going. Some of the smaller ones are not. And so that becomes more of a week-to-week basis. I don't have, a deep lens into the housing market, but I have heard that that's been a factor. In general, we've seen prices go up. We've seen what's happened. Anything that happens with fuel directly affects asphalt prices. I've seen a report from the DOT that over a period of time, they've seen their prices go up by about 35%. We've not quite seen that level of increase. We're in that 20 to 25% increase, but in the road business and the road maintenance business, it's a volume game. And so if our prices go up that much and our budget doesn't, we're going to have less purchasing power. So we're hoping that things stabilize soon so we can get back to maybe what's a new normal and continue to deliver projects. I will say we're still very fortunate. We got very high capacity, high functioning contractors in Sioux Falls that consistently bid our projects and deliver those projects. We're in a sprint right now with school opening on a couple, but largely projects are on track.
Thank you. I've got a couple of counselors decided not to break any speed records and traffic laws to get here, so they've shown up now, so I'll throw it to them. Any questions to follow up? Go ahead, Councilor Knights.
Well, I would just say, and Director Cotter knows this, I submitted a number of questions in writing to give them some time. And so I just look forward to continuing to discuss the things that I asked about and active transportation. So I'll just defer for now. Thanks.
Okay, great.
Councilor Starr?
Yes, one of the, Director, one of the things that I keep hearing about is maybe potentially a transfer station for solid waste on the east side that may at some point be cost effective as we continue to grow to the east. Well, we're growing every direction, so you pick where you want to put it. But is that something that is at least being kicked around? Does that make, I mean, how large do we have to be for something like that to make sense? Because to go from my house to the landfill, I plan a half a day or whatever. At least my wife plans a half day for me to take that long by the time I get there and back. So is that something that makes sense, or are we approaching anything like that?
It's been looked at. It's been a couple of years since it's been looked at, so I don't want to necessarily shoot from the hip. But with a 5-county service area, there certainly may be a time where it fits. Lincoln County had a transfer station that has been closed. You know, it becomes another permitted facility that you have to maintain. But why don't you give us a chance to, we'll look back in that last study and have some perspective on it, and to maybe give kind of a forward-looking look to see at what point in time may it make sense to have maybe one on the east side and one north. Because basically, you know, all the solid waste from Madison to Beersford and from Salem to the state line comes to the regional landfill. So I know a lot of times we specifically look at Sioux Falls, but then, you know, it's a fairly large regional facility. And I want us to, let me get some perspective for you, and I can also send that out to the council.
No, I appreciate that, because I think over the long term, that's definitely something that that we take a look at, and how we service other customers or other members of the 5-county area, I think just kind of makes sense. And I know that was, I'm trying to remember if it was one of the storms that came through when we added the grinder on the east side and ground material rather than trying to haul it and then grind it, just some of those efficiencies.
Right. Very good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilor Bronco?
Thought I'd tack on to that. I think that's a very interesting idea and definitely something worth looking into. Speaking as somebody who just by coincidence this morning drove from the east side of town over to the facility, you know, it is quite a ways, but I'd love to say the people there did a terrific job of getting us in and out. And although it was busy, everybody was really working hard and working cooperatively to make sure that it was a quick, efficient experience. So even though it would be advantageous to have you know, more remote points, they're doing a terrific job over there at the central facility.
Yeah, very good. We'll make sure the team knows that.
All right, last call for questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having us.
Appreciate you coming back.
You're welcome. Take care.
Thank you for you and your team. At this time, I'd like to circle back and get the Siouxland Heritage Museum Board. Councilor Starr?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I will defer later this afternoon. We're meeting with Director Hoskins, and I believe he will give us an extensive report of where we're at with the museum, and I would only add to it and probably overdo it by that point. So, if you don't mind, so.
Did you want to speak about UDC or?
I would love to speak about the Urbanized Development Council.
Thanks for the reminder. Councilor
Well, I wasn't sure if I had missed it or if it was there. We finally got to the final version of our transportation improvement plan for 2023 through 2026. The chair was unable to attend. She was under the weather, so I got to sign off on tens of millions of dollars, and who knows what I approved by the time we're done. So, but my name's on it now, so we'll have a chance to, I'm sure I'll hear about it into the future. But it's, the transportation or the TIP, as it's commonly called, is a very extensive outlook of what happens in the MPO for transportation, the metropolitan planning area as well. So it's kind of the relief of when we finish the budget, the same kind of thing. So having it all spelled out and having a really good plan for the next 5 years is important. The highlight of the meeting was the MPO funded a study for Brandon for their bike and pedestrian plan, and the final report was presented. The interesting part about it is how that bike trail pedestrian plan matches up with some of the things that we're going to be doing in Sioux Falls. So they have worked extensively with the Parks Department so that our bike trails will tie into Brandon. So as people move back and forth, both recreationally and for transportation to work and things, it will match up and fit very well into our Parks Department budget and things moving forward. So it's always good when we're making that look into the future of how it matches up. And I sure hope that one of the things that the MPO considers in the future is going south towards T or going south towards Harrisburg and tying into some of their pedestrian projects as well, so that we look at it as a region rather than just as us as individual cities. So those were the two really highlights of the meeting.
Thank you. Thank you. At this time, we'll move to council remarks. No council remarks. We'll move on now to the public comment. It's the public comment portion of the meeting. If anybody's here to speak about the things we brought up. Seeing none, Councilor Jensen.
I'd make a motion to enter executive session for the purpose of consulting with legal counsel or reviewing communications from legal counsel about proposed or pending litigation or contractual matters pursuant to SDCL 12523.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Could I get a roll call vote, please?
Council members Bronco,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
McCourse,
Yes.
Nitzert,
Yes.
Sale,
Yes,
Star.
Yes.
that motion is passed. Moving to executive session, I'd ask everybody to please clear the room except for Councilor Stacy Koistra, legal counsel. Thank you.